Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the EPLAN Virtual Fair 2016, and the subject we're going to cover today is the EPLAN platform. But before we start, I'd like to notify you on the possibility to ask questions. You have a button on the front of your screen. At any time, feel free to ask a question via chat, and my colleague and I will be answering the questions later on at the end of the presentation. You also have the possibility to win an iPad. So feel free to go to the information booth when you go back out to the main hall and click on the information booth, and there, if you give us your feedback on the show or on the fair, you have the possibility to win an iPad mini. So please go ahead and get into that contest. Let's start off with the EPLAN platform. What is it? What does it do? And most importantly, how can it help you to become more efficient in your engineering? Before we start going into the details of the platform, let's first look at the engineering process that everybody goes through when they build a machine, when they build a system, when they build a product. They typically go through the same workflow every single time. If we look at that process, typically we start with a concept. The concept will allow you to define exactly what are the product requirements. What is your machine supposed to do? What is your product going to look like? How am I going to make the product work, or how am I going to make the machine work? So you lay out a concept, you put some ideas together, and typically you do that on a canvas or you do it on a software specifically to capture graphics or data. Then you are going to start defining the actuators and the sensors of how to make the machine work in your basic engineering process. You're going to identify, for example, the basic processes that the machine needs to go through. After that, you're going to start designing the mechanical aspect of your machine. So you're going to use a 3D CAD package, and you're going to start putting the mechanical aspects of the machines together. Then you're going to go over and design the control systems of the machine. You're going to need to make that machine work automatically. You're going to define your automation tools, systems, protection devices, your enclosures. Then you're going to build the machine. You're going to assemble your enclosures. And finally, you're going to commission the machine. You're going to run the software, test it to make sure everything is correct. And after that, you can finally release and sell the machine to your customers. During that entire engineering process, you're going to be going through multiple different disciplines, and you're going to be using multiple different tools. For example, when you do your mechanical engineering, you're going to be using 3D software tools such as SolidWorks, maybe Inventor or CATIA, various different tools. And then you're going to define, if you do a process system, you're going to define all of your process flow diagrams or even your process and instrumentation diagrams. Then that information is going to be detailed a little furthermore in the fluid engineering aspect, where you're going to define your actuators such as cylinders, for example, or pneumatic actuators, and you're going to define all of the piping diagrams for those. Then that information is going to be passed on to the electrical engineering department so they can start identifying what are the sensors, what are the actuators, and how do I control them, and how do I make them work. And finally, that information needs to be passed on to the software development team so they can start capturing all of the inputs and the outputs that are needed for that particular system. And throughout this entire process, you use multiple different tools, different software, different data formats, and a lot of times the data needs to be entered over and over again in different aspects. So you take the data that's already been entered and you have to enter it again because the software systems are not compatible. So you have a bottleneck after each individual discipline. There is no clear data transfer between the disciplines. There's a manual data entry at every single switch. And finally, no data consistency throughout the system. So we want to change that. What we want to do is we want to give you the opportunity to reduce the time it takes to design your system and to do your engineering. So from a mechanical aspect, you still have the mechanical design that needs to be done. But when we start going into the process system, process flow diagrams, piping and instrumentation diagrams, fluid engineering, fluid power engineering for your pneumatics, hydraulics, cooling, lubrication, or even your electrical engineering, then we can just reduce that time that's needed because you're using one software, you're using one platform, and the data is completely consistent throughout the entire design process. And finally, you can take that data and simply give it over to your programming department so they don't have to re-enter the data. So you minimize the time and cost during your engineering. You can improve the quality of your design less errors. And finally, you can allocate the free resources that you now have to additional tasks. And you can also design in parallel. So you can work much faster and you can complete your system in a lot shorter time. That is where the EPLAN platform comes into play. The EPLAN platform is a database system. It's a database that captures all of your engineering data. So from the beginning of your design all the way to the commissioning of the machine, you can store all of your engineering data in the platform. And then we provide the EPLAN software solutions to be able to manage the data, to enter the data or modify the data. Let's take a look at our first solution, for example. EPLAN pre-planning allows you to capture data right up front during the concept of the machine. What you can do is you can take existing data. For example, a lot of customers already have lists of motors, lists of sensors, lists of instruments. They can take that data and simply import it in pre-planning, build up their structure, and start working in an environment that already has their existing data, so they don't have to re-enter it again. Or you can even use pre-planning as a simple canvas, as a blank canvas, where you can just start dropping your blocks or your graphical entities to build up your system, whether it's a machine layout, or it's a PFD, a process flow diagram, or even detail it into a piping and instrumentation diagram. So you can use that software to start capturing the data right up front for your basic engineering needs. In addition to that, the EPLAN data portal helps you to pull data, for example, from process manufacturers or process component manufacturers. You can take the data right out of the data portal and use it in pre-planning for upfront definition of engineering data. You can also create estimations, so you can define an estimate or cost estimate for a system before you even start designing that system. So a lot of benefits are there using EPLAN pre-planning right up front. And the data is in the system. So again, what do we have? We've got quick and easy creation of PFDs and P&IDs according to the standards. Cross-reference into detail engineering, so the data that you have in your P&IDs can be used and cross-reference further down the line. Automatic generation of instrumentation data sheets and supporting documentation. You can define a functional structure of your system, and you can also easily import existing data into your system. Once that data is in the platform, now you can use additional EPLAN software solutions to enrich that data. For example, I have a valve manifold, and that manifold is pneumatically actuated. Now what do we have? We have fluid power engineering capabilities with EPLAN Fluid. So we can design on pneumatics, hydraulics, cooling, and lubrication circuits. I can take the data that I previously defined in pre-planning or data from the data portal, and I can start laying out all of my air circuits or my hydraulic circuits or my cooling circuits or my lubrication circuits to be able to generate manufacturing data for that particular application. So you can generate bill of materials, you can generate tube lists, you can generate sensor lists, do your diagrams, and also follow the standards. We are fully compliant with the ISO 12219 standard and also the latest IEC 81346 standard that helps you to actually harmonize the two disciplines, which are fluid power and electrical engineering. So the fluid power, so EPLAN Fluid provides you with the ability to not only follow the standards, but it also increases your productivity because you can simply lay out your standards very quickly and easily. And you can use variant technology to quickly define those circuits. You can generate the required documentation that you need, and you can also integrate that information right into the platform to be able to be used by your detail engineering. Fluid Power also, or EPLAN Fluid, also provides the ability to lay out your enclosure in a 3D. So you can lay out your components on a panel and also do all of the tubing as well as the piping within that particular panel. So you have a full, complete documentation for your fluid power system. On top of the platform, we've seen pre-planning, we've seen fluid. Let's look at the next solution, which is EPLAN Electric P8. EPLAN Electric P8 provides you the design environment to design all of your electric engineering needs. You can capture all of your cables, all of your terminals. You can capture all of your sensors, actuators, PLC modules. You can capture your transformers, protection device. Everything that is required for an electrical system to work can be captured using EPLAN Electric P8. Again, the data that you define in pre-planning, the data that you've defined in Fluid can be used through the platform directly in your design environment to be able to design quickly, accurately, without having to re-enter the data. So you can create your single line diagrams, you can create your multi-line diagrams, your PLC-IO layouts, you can create all of your bill of materials, wire lists for production as well down the line. And you can put that information, or you can enrich that information with all the data portal data. So you can pull from hundreds of different vendors and thousands of different parts to be able to complete your design in no time at all. And finally, you can pass that information on to the next tool to be able to lay out your enclosures. So again, a lot of time savings can be achieved by using our software solutions because you have variant technology that allows you to quickly and easily lay out your circuits. You are very flexible because you can either start on a graphical approach or an object-oriented approach. Depending on how much data you have, you can actually just start laying out your system. You have higher performance because we can also integrate with Office environment. For example, send data to Excel to quickly modify that data and bring that data back into the platform so you don't have to re-enter it again. And finally, direct communication through the entire platform with all of our applications. Electric P8 is your software solutions to design your electrical needs. Following Electric P8, now we need to design our enclosure. So we provide a software solution called EPLAN ProPanel. EPLAN ProPanel allows you to design an enclosure not in 2D, but directly in a 3D environment. It is not a 3D modeling tool. It's a 3D environment where you can use 3D models and simply lay them out in your enclosure very quickly and efficiently. You can drag and drop and place your components on the back plate. You can just simply lay out your DIN rails, lay out your wire ducts, make sure everything fits. And with a 3D, you can make sure that if you place a HMI on the door and you close the door, it doesn't smash into the PLC. Again, improving the quality of your design and accuracy of the design. Once the components are in the panel, then you can calculate your wire lengths. You can calculate all of your drilling information. So again, you take the information from Fluid, you take the information from P8 that was previously designed in the platform, and you can bring it in to your EPLAN ProPanel. And then you can lay out your enclosure with a visual aspect that helps you to lay out that enclosure. Again, it's a very simple 3D tool. You don't have to be a mechanical engineer to use it. It's made for electrical engineers to lay out their enclosures. And again, using the data portal data, you can enrich that panel with additional components. From the ProPanel, you can generate all of the documentation you need for manufacturing. You can generate all of the 2D drawings that you need to print out, for example. You can also provide the machines, such as the Rittal Perforex machine or Comax machine to cut wires automatically. So all that data is in the platform, so simply use it and send it to those machines instead of, again, re-entering the data that you typically do today. So EPLAN ProPanel is a very effective tool to lay out your enclosures in 3D and automatically extract the 2D views for it. You can plan control cabinets and switchgear. You can also provide ordering and manufacturing information. You can calculate wire lengths and drilling patterns, and you can also reduce the time and cost. And that's the important factor right there. Another package that we have on top of the platform is EPLAN Harness Prodi. EPLAN Harness Prodi allows you to design all of your wiring and cabling needs within a specific environment. So you have to confine to mechanical structures to be able to lay out all of your wires and cables. So what we do is we take the information that we design in P8. We know the connectivity of our system. We know how to wire everything. Now we need to take that wiring system and we need to put it around a mechanical structure. And by marrying the two, we take that data and put it into Harness. And in Harness Prodi, we can then create our harness requirements, define all of the protections, define all of the connectors if needed, and add all of the details to manufacture that harness. So we can send the data to, for example, a report through a wire list, through a connector list. And also we can automatically generate a nail board drawing that helps the manufacturer build that harness. And also we have rule checks to be able to make sure that a wire going around a particular mechanical structure is not too tight and doesn't break the bending radius. So the harness can be done either in 3D or in 2D. You have the 3D data right from the front, right from the start. You can integrate the existing CAD drawings into Harness. So you don't have to have a specific file format. You can use your existing SolidWorks model, CATIA models, Unigraphics models. You can bring them in directly into Harness, and using the EPLAN schematics, you can lay out your wiring around it. So the Harness Prodi tool is a fantastic tool to quickly and easily, again, it's a very easy to use tool to lay out your harnesses in a 3D environment. Again, you don't have to be a mechanical engineer to use Harness Prodi. Next, to support all of these applications, we have the data portal. So the data portal is a vault of data, of engineering data. So it's not PDFs or pictures that you go to the manufacturer's website to actually capture, to look at the information. It's actually data that can be used directly in any of our applications. So you can go into any of those software applications and download all of the data you need for your engineering. So the data portal provides over 122 manufacturers with something like over 500,000 components online, and you can simply, via drag and drop, take those components and drag them into your design environment. So you don't have to figure out how is it laid out, what are the connection points, what are the drilling patterns, how do I actually wire this device. All of that information is already in the data portal, so all you do is drag and drop it into your system, and you can connect it right there in your environment. So you don't have to go online and navigate through thousands of PDFs. Well, everything is there at the tip of a finger. Here you can see an overview, a quick overview of the 122 manufacturers that we currently have in a data portal, including the largest electrical component manufacturers as well as pneumatic component manufacturers such as Festo for fluid, for example. We got Endress & Hauser for P&ID, for process. We've also got Siemens and Rockwell for electrical. So we've got various different manufacturers available there for you to use today and start your engineering on the right foot. At the end of the day, the data is in the data platform. So what do we want to do? We want to use that data to generate all of the documentation we need for a given system. So we can generate it as a PDF, we can generate it as a DWG or a DXF, or we can even generate or leave it as an EPLAN platform format. And that provides you with the documentation. We can also take that data and provide it to manufacturing machines, AMT, Automated Manufacturing Technology, which are the machines that help you to drill your backplates automatically, or even strip, cut, and label your wires automatically. Those type of machines can be used now in conjunction with the platform. In addition to that, the data is in the platform. So not only can we work with our software solutions, but we can work with a lot of different software solutions out there, such as ERP, PDM, PLM systems. We can integrate with those systems, so we can pass information that's contained in the platform over to those systems so they can reuse the data without having to re-enter the data. We can bidirectionally exchange data with PLC systems, such as Siemens, Rockwell, Mitsubishi Electric, ABB. We have the capability of exporting or transferring our I/O data and then having them use that data instead of re-entering the data. And of course, we've got multitude number of different neutral formats, XML, text format, as well as SQL formats to be able to exchange data. So you can see that the data is in the platform, and the most important, as our president, Mr. Brundle said, he said the data is very important, smart data is important. And we can capture that in our EPLAN platform, and we can now use that within our entire engineering process. Here you get a little bit of an overview of the various different interfaces that we have today as a standard inside of EPLAN. So from an ERP perspective, we can exchange data with SAP. With a PDM PLM system, you can see with Siemens, with Windchill, with Teamcenter, we can exchange data. Or with our PLC systems, we can bidirectionally exchange with various different PLC manufacturers. And finally, automated manufacturing technologies. We've got various different partners with who we can send the data directly so they can manufacture our enclosures. Another software solution that we provide is the EPLAN Engineering Configuration 1. This is your first step to complete automation, meaning that you can use a front end such as Excel to capture data. You map that data to your macros, which are your circuits or your partial circuits, and you can use that to auto-generate your fluid, your electric, and some of your ProPanel layouts automatically. So you can see that we have some automation solutions to auto-generate your schematics, providing you a very high level of standardization, because you are guaranteed of the outcome, minimizing the errors, and minimizing also your checking time. And the next level is the EPLAN engineering configuration. When we enter that level, we go into the configuration aspect. We're looking at how do I configure a specific machine. And then the outcome is not just electrical or fluid or ProPanel, it's also mechanical 3D models. You can output software PLC to generate and to build up all of your code. And this information will be shown to you in later presentations as well. So I hope I was able to give you an insight on what the EPLAN platform is and what it means, and how to be able to leverage that platform to capture your data, use the data down the line. So feel free at any time to contact me or send me an email, as well as visit our chat room and ask questions to the chat. I've got many colleagues that are currently on the chat and answering questions. And again, don't forget to fill out the feedback form, because you can win an iPad mini. So make sure to fill that out. So we had a couple of questions during the presentation, and I will talk about them. So first of all, from Romania. Is it possible to finalize a PPE project without using any instrument parts from the EPLAN database? Yes, it is. So you can have so PPE is for plant process engineering. It's our tool to do our process flow diagrams or our process and instrumentation diagrams. So yes, you can complete a P&ID, you can also complete your data structure, and you can finalize that project without necessarily using the detailed engineering required for that. The next question is the EPLAN platform compatible with AutoCAD? The answer to that is yes. We are capable in the EPLAN platform to import DXF DWG files, and we can also produce DXF DWG files. But as you probably know as well, the data in the AutoCAD drawings is very limited. You have graphical information and you have blocks with attributes, so a very limited amount of information. So when you bring that information in, it's mostly graphical data that you are bringing in. What you can do, you can either use that as a background, for example, if you want to lay out all your cable routes, or you can use that, for example, as a starting point, and you can enrich then the data using EPLAN. So we can work with AutoCAD. Is the EPLAN platform database based on SQL? The EPLAN platform is a proprietary ISM database, and the reason why we did that is because the requirements for engineering electrical diagrams and the communication between the various different disciplines required a lot more than just a simple SQL platform. So we have actually our own proprietary format that can be compatible with outside formats as well. So at any point in time, the data in the EPLAN platform can be exchanged with other applications. And we also provide a full API to be able to access the data, modify the data, extract the data, and also create the data if needed. Can we access the data in the database from external applications? Yes, again, through the API, application programming interface, you have full access to that data, but you can also use our standardized interfaces such as Excel export, import, to be able to export that data and import that data back into the database. XML is also one way to be able to generate that interface. What standards does EPLAN platform support? Well, we support all of the standards. Out of the box, we provide you standards support for IEC standard. We provide standards for the NFPA, JIC standards, or even the GOST norm, or the GB norm for Chinese market. So we already have a lot of standards in the package available, but at any point in time, you can also add and modify those standards to support your own. So for any further questions, please go and join us in the chat. Ask your questions. We'll be there to answer those questions. And if any time you want a more personal connection, you can always send me an email. From my side, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed today. Bye-bye.